How's it going, my G's? Hope everyone is doing well and having a fantastic weekend. It's very stormy and rainy outside here in Berlin. I've just returned yesterday evening from a little event in Hamburg, which is a very nice city. I wish I could have stayed for longer, but my trains were both cancelled and I ended up having to take a replacement bus service there and back. On the way back, sat next to a blind woman the whole way, and she kept dropping apples and batteries and cassette players and all kinds of things on the floor for 4 hours straight. So I was helping her pick things back up again. So that was very interesting, but she was very nice anyway. Anyway, I've got a Smoghorn for you today because I know that that's deep down what you're looking for. So let's have a little listen, shall we? And then I'll explain how I made this noise.
Back in 19.2. Back in 19.2.
It's pretty nasty, isn't it? Let's have one more. Let's have a rewind that selector.
Back in 19.2. Back in 19.2.
So we are, of course, talking about this sound here. And the beautiful thing about this patch, which is not available anywhere, and I'll probably put it on a preset pack soon, but the nice thing about it is having the start position. So I've drawn in all the modulation, and the modulation that you hear is the one I drew in and thought, that's going to be the one that I want. But I then proceeded to draw in a number of other random points and modulate the slider on the macro here, the start macro. So you can have the start position changing, and then you could get some maybe more interesting grooves that you can write yourself, just by using the power of random modulations. Yes. So we could just kind of sweep through. So that's pretty cool. Oh, that one had a nice little funky part at the end, didn't it? Funky endings are always nice. Oh, that's pretty cool. Now, you know me. I mean, this is not actually the idea of this tutorial, but if you know me, I'll probably, when I hear a little thing like that I like, I'll just bounce it out. So that little end part, because in the groove there at the end, it was just pretty cool. So if I just sort of chop it to the grid always, I could use that part.
Back in 19.2.
Oh, that's not exactly what I expected.
Back in 19.
It sort of happens a little bit earlier, I think.
Back in 19.
So that's pretty interesting as well, isn't it? Sorry, I'm going completely off topic here. I wanted to do sound design, but now I'm doing like arrangement. Hang on.
Back in 19.
That's pretty cool.
Back in 19.
Yeah, see what I mean though? You can find and hear like the nice rhythms as you're designing the sound, and then those individual slices where it just is kind of funky. You can chop those up and reuse them. So that's what I'd do next anyway. But let's go back to the actual sound design and talk about if I can just bring it back to the start again. Yeah, so maybe if I switch off our gefilte fish, switch off our Michael Bay unwanted effects, and then start from scratch. We've got a squared off sine wave, so obviously just a sine wave on basic shapes, and you go up a little bit on the slider and it starts to square off the wave up at 12, and then next we add in a saw wave, which is down at 0, and this is going to FM into our squared off sine wave here on the FM oscillator 2. And already we've got a bit of movement going on, and I've modulated the FM amount to go up and down a little bit. I've put the smear to go up and down a little bit because that's kind of the distorted part of the sound. And here I've got the smear on again. And I actually automated this, but because Vital hates me, it started to do that thing where it turns everything to the left for some reason. So I ended up taking the automation off. So this was as far as I got with automation. They allowed me 5 thingy-majiggies. But yeah, it's decent enough without it anyway. But yeah, what we're going to do is obviously we're going to add in a bassy sine wave underneath it all now. Yeah, so you got your little sine wave at -24 there. Everything's turned off the random on terms of the phase randomization, so they always start at the same point. Then we'll add in a little bit of pink noise, and just to take out the low end rumble of the noise, we're going to filter it on a sample filter here, taking out the low end. Yeah, so already sounding terrible still. We haven't got to the fun part yet, but yeah, filter 2. I kind of just switched this one on by mistake, and I liked the tone when we filtered the saw wave a little bit. A little bit cleaner overall. We still got a lot of high, harsh harmonics, but we're going to change that now over in the effects, because what we're going to do is we're going to add a comb filter.
Back in 19.2.
Oh, you see what happens there? It's actually the distortion that changes it all, but without the comb filter before it, it's just a big mess. So put the comb filter in first, and that's shaping it. So it's the idea, to sort of break it down, the idea is that we are designing the wavetables to be shaped by the comb filter by these resonances that we're picking out here, and then distorting the hell out of that once it's been shaped by the comb. So combing your hair and then distorting it, basically. And so the comb filter, what I've done is I've gone for the band spread flange plus, and what we're going to do is bring the cutoff all the way to the left, and this is just the way it kind of distributes the frequencies, but the actual positional cutoff, like technically, is at 41.2, which is exactly sort of around E, which is where my track is, and where the note is playing. So I've sort of done it specifically to the note of the track. You can just use any frequency chart; it'll tell you what frequencies respond to what notes. But you guys probably know that already. Blend. The blend and the cut both kind of open the sound, so it starts off, prioritizing the low end, and then as the cut comes up, it sort of spreads the frequencies to the mid range. And the same with this blend, it kind of starts to open up the sound a little bit more. So what I've done is I've modulated the blend and the cut on our LFO here. That simple, really.
Back in 19.2.
And here's the resonance, so you can control the kind of amount of the effect. So maybe let's see if we can get it right as well. Yeah, so I liked it sort of around there, 68%. And yeah, obviously it's going into the distortion. You could maybe modulate the drive a little bit. I'm not going to do it now because Vital will probably not let me, but yeah, you can maybe modulate that a little. But you don't have to, it's pretty nice like that as well. And then the chorus comes next, and basically this... Yeah, it just brings another layer of life and depth to the sound. And what I've done here is I've put the voices down to 4, so it's the lowest kind of amount of voices. So it's just a little bit of extra spreadage on your cheese and butter toast. And then 9% depth. And I think the delays are kind of left how they were, I think. But yeah, the depth is important to turn that down, because it starts off very high. And when we turn the depth down, we sort of narrow the spread of the voices, so it's more of a little extra buffer layer on the sound. It's not a huge chorusy effect. And then mixing that in a little bit on the LFO as well. Yeah, if I turn it down a bit more, it's going to get a little bit punchier because it's a bit less stereoed then. But there's good. It's always nice to try and get a blend of stereo and mono power, You need both really. To make a nice, immersive bass sound. Reverb, just a touch at the end, just literally to put the space in a room in a space. And then I boosted on the EQ a little bit, the treble area, the biting point around 1.5k. And it's sort of like mastering it a little bit, like just squeezing out all the top end nicely.
19.2.
So that's a nice version there. I will put this on a future preset pack anyway. But yeah, feel free to have a go on your own. I think you can manage it. And then yeah, having the start position is always cool as well, like I said before. get some nice different groove modulations. Anyway, I've been Artifact. You've been the listener. Thank you for that. Just don't do anything that I wouldn't.